Back on the SportsMax zone, wickets continue to prove difficult to come by for the West Indies bowling attack on their tour of Australia. The Aussies again dominating with a bat piling on 330 for 3 on the opening day of the pink ball day-night test at the Adelaide Oval. It didn't help that the Windies have made 4 changes to the team that lost the opening test by 164 runs in Perth. Kemar Roach, Jaden Seals and Kyle Mears all unavailable due to injury, while Nkrumah Bonner missed the test due to concussion protocols. The selectors handed debuts to Devon Thomas and Marquino Minley, with Anderson Phillip playing only his second test match. Shamar Brooks replaced Bonner. Here is Ricardo Chambers with a look at the action of day 1.
Pink ball day-night test at the Adelaide Oval. Both captains wanting to bat, but it was Australia's standing skipper Steve Smith who won the toss. Azara Joseph deciding to pepper the Aussie openers with short deliveries.
Oh, vicious. Now, something to think about for the Australian opening pair.
The Windies bowlers were inconsistent, however, and the Aussie openers pounced.
And again, into the gap. Back-to-back boundaries.
David Warner unable to push on though, edging a wide one from Joseph. The left-hander gone for 21. Debutant Marquino Minley was given his first ball in Test cricket, but the Jamaican didn't last long, walking off with a hamstring injury just 15 overs into the day. The first session belonging solely to the Aussies, led by Usman Khawaja, who brought up his 19th Test half-century as the Aussies got to lunch at 1 for 89. Khawaja and Marnus Labuschagne shared 95 for the second wicket as the Windies bowlers looked out of ideas. But part-time debutant Devon Thomas provided the breakthrough, trapping Khawaja in front for 62. The left-hander calling for the review, but unsuccessfully so. Umpires call the final verdict. And 2 runs later, the Windies seemed back in the test. Jason Holder holding a return catch of Steve Smith, who fell for a rare duck. The Aussies 3 for 131. But Labuschagne and Travis Head would ensure the Windies had no further success on day 1, the two piling on an unbroken 4th wicket stand of 199. Labuschagne reaching his 3rd century in as many innings.
And runs, there it is. What a summer he's having. 300s in a row, his 10th Test 100. What a player.
And Head, who was dismissed for 99 in his only innings of the first test, reached the milestone this time around.
Trim it off, and they are on their feet at the Adelaide Oval, because for Travis Head and all the people in South Australia, that is a very special moment.
As good a number 5's innings as you'll see in Test cricket this from Travis Head. Take a bow, son.
Australia closing on 330 for 3 with Labuschagne on 120 and Head 114. Tough day and night for the Windies in the field. A wicket each for Joseph, 1 for 81 from 21, Holder 1 for 42 from 21, and Devon Thomas 1 for 43 from 9. The other figures, Roston Chase none for 66 from 14, Minley none for 11 from 2, Anderson Phillip none for 56 from 16, and Captain Craig Brathwaite none for 28 from 6. Day 2 starts 11 p.m. in Jamaica, midnight in the rest of the Caribbean.
Across the turf. Helmet off, bat up, big smile.
Yes, so international cricket commentator Fazir Mohammed now joins us to discuss what happened on day 1 in Adelaide. Tough going for the West Indies, Faz. So many injury issues, concussion issues, and Labuschagne making them pay once again after the Aussies won the toss and chose to bat.
Yeah, familiar story, and no surprise that they would have wanted to bat. Adelaide is probably the best batting surface consistently in Australia, even with the day-night conditions. And yes, there's the additional challenge of the pink ball and the seaming conditions. But as we discussed in the first Test match ahead of the first ball being bowled and the toss in Perth, the Aussies prefer to bat first unless it's really a minefield, and it was justified yet again. And it's, as I said, and we touched on it as well in looking ahead to the first Test match, that it's very much the norm for the Australians to bat first and essentially bat the West Indies out of the match.
Yeah, and we spoke about Labuschagne already, and you've already explained your rating of him. But there was also 100 from unbeaten 2 from Travis Head. your thoughts on Head and Labuschagne's batting and the way the West Indies bowling attack addressed their job.
Yeah, and again, Labuschagne, he's a machine. He's very much in the mold of someone who's a student of the game, a student of his craft. Head is a different type of player. He's very much an instinctive type of player. Not that he doesn't work on his game, obviously, but as a left-hander, he's a bit more flamboyant, loves to go for his shots, loves to really attack the bowling. Labuschagne celebrating that 100, his third in a row, a double century and 100 in the first Test match. So he's now got 3 Test match 100s and 3 consecutive innings. And as we said, they are different styles. And playing on his home ground for Travis Head, the disappointment of falling to Craig Brathwaite for 99 in the first Test match, that would have been erased somewhat. And again, he is someone who loves to go for his shots. And you saw from the moment he came to the crease, even with 3 wickets down, even with a period of uncertainty for Australia, he started positively and was really able to take the attack by the scruff of the neck. As for the West Indies bowling, it was certainly challenged with the loss of such key performers. You're talking about Kemar Roach, Jayden Seales, even the likes of Kyle Mayers, who was always there to probably give you a breakthrough. All of them were missing. Devon Thomas was the surprise wicket taker. It was unfortunate for Markino Mindley, having just arrived from Australia. And people might often overlook these things, Lance. For someone who's traveling but just going on holiday or relaxing or sitting in a commentator's chair, it's nowhere near as taxing as actually going into serious physical activity, as in the case of fast bowling for Markino Mindley, just having come back from that long journey, halfway up, more than halfway across the world. So it's no surprise that he suffered that niggle, that tweak, that ruled him out after just a couple of overs. Yeah. What was disappointing though, Lance, sorry, you go ahead.
No, go ahead, continue, yeah. Mm-hmm.
What was disappointing though, Lance, is that after that 3rd wicket fell, yes, when Jason Holder had Steve Smith caught and bowled without scoring, Smith captaining the team in the absence of the injured Cummins, which is a story by itself, you didn't see any real effort at concerted pressure from the West Indies. I mean, Roston Chase came on to bowl with that deep backward point. Really, it's difficult to fathom the thinking behind it. So you're protecting the boundaries. What about putting pressure on the new player? What about trying to build some sort of concerted pressure? And while, yes, there's a lot of credit being given to Craig Brathwaite for his batting and for his gelling of the players and so on, it really isn't making a difference as far as the West Indies tactics. Whatever the score is, a new batsman is a new batsman. Even if the score is 425 for 2, a 3rd wicket falling means that there's a new batsman at the crease. And at least you should be prepared to put some sort of pressure, and that wasn't the case.
Yeah, second time that we've seen Steve Smith captain the Aussie team, of course replacing Cummins, who is injured. The first time I think was a COVID-19 issue, and Steve Smith was elevated. So it seems the ball tampering issue that had rendered him outside of the leadership role, we could see Steve Smith rising again to be the Aussie skipper.
Well, I can tell you from what we're hearing in Australia, that ball tampering thing is not over, because David Warner, who was actually challenging legally the fact that he's banned from any consideration for the captaincy, because he feels that he's been thrown under the bus, while a lot of people have gotten away with it. And his manager, speaking on a local radio station in Melbourne, I believe, said that it will have to be a blind Dalmatian to believe that only 3 people, Cameron Bancroft, Steve Smith and David Warner, were aware of what was going on as far as the ball tampering in Cape Town in 2017. 2018, I think it was, yeah, 2018. So really, we'll see how this thing unfolds, because a lot was made about it. Steve Smith was in tears, David Warner was in tears, it was just that killed somebody and so on. And now he's back as captain, and rest assured, more is going to come out from the David Warner side in relation to this matter.
Okay, Faz, we're going to leave it there. Blind Dalmatian. Oh, I like German Shepherds, Faz, but let's
like none.
Faz, we'll talk again after day 2, which we will discuss tomorrow. Thanks, Faz. Back with more on the SportsMax Zone after this.